Have you ever wondered who that voice is on the other side of the Ouija board? For over a century, people have gathered around this mysterious talking board, their fingers resting lightly on the planchette, waiting for it to spell out messages from beyond. But who or what is really moving it? The story of the Ouija board is just as strange and fascinating as the messages it delivers. It all started back in the late 1800s, a time when spiritualism was all the rage. People were obsessed with communicating with the spirit world, holding seances in their dimly lit parlors. Two businessmen, Elijah Bond and Charles Kennard, saw an opportunity. They created a talking board that made spirit communication faster and easier than ever before. But they needed a name. Legend has it, they asked the board itself what it should be called. The planchette glided across the letters, spelling out Ouija. When they asked what that meant, the board replied, "Good luck. Creepy, right?" To get a patent, Bond had to prove the board actually worked. So he and his sister-in-law, a known medium named Helen Peters, went to the patent office in Washington, D.C. The chief patent officer was skeptical. He said he'd grant the patent if the board could spell out his name, which was supposedly unknown to them. They placed their hands on the planchette, and to everyone's astonishment, it correctly spelled out the officer's name. The patent was granted on February 10, 1891, but the real genius behind the Ouija board's success was a man named William Fult. Fult took over the company and turned the Ouija board from a niche spiritualist tool into a national craze. He marketed it as a harmless parlor game, a fun way to spend an evening with family and friends, and it worked. Millions of boards were sold. Fult became a millionaire, but his story has a tragic twist. In 1927, while overseeing the replacement of a flagpole on his factory roof, he stumbled and fell. Ironically, he died from complications from the fall. A fall from the roof of the very factory that produced the talking board that made him famous. So, who is pushing the planchette? Is it spirits from another dimension? Or is it something a little more Scientists have a term for it: the ideomotor effect. This is a psychological phenomenon where our subconscious thoughts and movements guide the planchette without us even realizing it. Basically, your brain already knows the answers you're seeking, and your muscles make tiny, involuntary movements to spell them out. It's not ghosts. It's your own mind playing tricks on you. Think about it when you're using a Ouija board. You're usually with a group of people, all concentrating intensely, all with their own hopes and fears. The combined, subtle movements of everyone involved can create surprisingly coherent messages. It's a powerful demonstration of how connected our minds and bodies truly are. But whether you believe it's spirits, your subconscious, or just a bit of fun, the Ouija board has left its mark on our culture. It's appeared in countless movies, books, and TV shows, always as a gateway to the unknown. It taps into our deep-seated curiosity about what lies beyond the veil of our everyday lives. So, the next time you see a Ouija board, remember its strange history. From a spiritualist fad to a patented mystery, and from a parlor game to a psychological puzzle, the voice behind the board might not be a ghost after all. It might just be the most mysterious entity of all, the human mind. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the unexplained. Have you ever heard a story so terrifying that it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? A story that feels like it's ripped straight from a horror movie, but it happened to a real family. Today, we're re-diving into a case that's as chilling as it gets. The story of an Ohio family who claimed they battled a demon in their own home. It all started in a quiet, unassuming house. The family, whose names we'll keep private for their own peace, had just moved in, hoping for a fresh start. But soon after they settled, strange things began to happen. It began subtly. Objects would move on their own, lights would flicker on and off, and strange whispers seemed to echo through the hallways at night. At first, they tried to rationalize it. Old wiring, a drafty house, an overactive imagination. But the activity quickly escalated. Doors would slam shut with violent force. Unexplained scratches appeared on the walls, and even on family members. They started hearing a deep, guttural voice that wasn't human, speaking in a language they couldn't understand. The youngest child began talking to an imaginary friend who seemed to be telling her to do terrible things. The atmosphere in the house grew heavy, filled with a sense of dread and pure malevolence. Terrified, the family turned to their local church for help. They described the suffocating presence, the physical attacks, and the constant psychological torment. The activity seemed to center around one of the older children, who would fall into trance-like states. Speaking in that same unnatural voice and displaying strength far beyond their own, it was as if something was trying to take over. Paranormal investigators and clergy members were brought in. They documented sudden temperature drops, electronic voice phenomena capturing threatening messages, and objects flying across rooms with no one touching them. They described a feeling of being watched, a palpable evil that clung to the very air inside the home. Multiple attempts were made to cleanse the house, involving prayers and religious rituals. During these attempts, the entity reportedly fought back furiously. The family described a full-blown spiritual war happening within their walls. Objects were thrown. The guttural voice screamed obscenities, and the house itself seemed to shake. The investigators reported that this wasn't just a simple haunting. It felt like an intelligent, malevolent entity with a clear goal: to terrorize and possess. Eventually, after a prolonged and exhausting struggle, the family claimed the activity began to subside. It didn't stop overnight, but the intense, violent events became less frequent. Was it the result of the constant prayers and cleansings? Did the entity simply lose interest or move on? The family believed they had won their battle, but the scars, both physical and emotional, remained. They eventually moved out, unable to ever feel safe in that house again. The story serves as a terrifying reminder that sometimes the most frightening monsters aren't on the movie screen, but can allegedly invade the one place we're supposed to feel the safest, our home. What do you think happened in that house in Ohio? Was it a case of mass hysteria, a psychological phenomenon, or did this family truly come face to face with a demon? Let me know your theories down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you're fascinated by mysteries like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the unknown. Stay safe out there. You've probably seen the terrifying movie, The Possession of Emily Rose. But did you know the real-life story that inspired it is even more chilling? Today, we're diving into the tragic and controversial case of Anelise Michelle. Our story begins in 1968, in a small town in Bavaria, Germany. Anelise was a bright, deeply religious young woman from a devout Catholic family. But at just 16 years old, her life took a dark turn. She experienced a severe convulsion, and doctors diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy. Despite being put on medication, her condition worsened. She started having terrifying hallucinations while praying, seeing demonic faces and hearing voices telling her she was damned. Anelise became convinced that she was possessed by demons. Her behavior grew increasingly erratic. She would eat spiders and coal, bark like a dog for days, and perform hundreds of squats until she collapsed from exhaustion. She developed an aversion to religious objects like crucifixes and holy water. The medical treatments weren't working, and her family, desperate for answers, turned to the church. Initially, the church was hesitant. They believed her issues were medical, but after years of pleading from the family and observing Anelise's extreme behavior, two priests, Father Arnold Renz and Father Ehrenstalt were finally granted permission by the Bishop of Wurzburg to perform an exorcism. This was in 1975, 7 years after her first seizure. What followed were 10 months of intense exorcism rites, sometimes happening once or twice a week. The priests documented the sessions on audio tapes. On these tapes, you can hear what sounds like multiple voices, arguing, growling, and speaking from Anelise. The priests claimed to have identified 6 demons possessing her: Lucifer, Cain, Judas, Iscariot, Nero, Hitler, and a disgraced priest named Fleischmann. During this time, Anelise refused to eat, believing that starving herself would help expel the demons from her body. Her physical health deteriorated rapidly. On July 1st, 1976, Anelise Michelle passed away in her sleep. She was only 23 years old and weighed just 68 pounds. The official cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration. The tragedy didn't end there. In the aftermath, German authorities launched an investigation. Anelise's parents and the 2 priests were charged with negligent homicide. The trial became a media sensation, pitting modern medicine against ancient religious beliefs. The prosecution argued that Anelise was a mentally ill young woman who needed medical and psychiatric care, not exorcism. They claimed that if she had been force-fed, she would have survived. The defense, on the other hand, played the chilling audio tapes in the courtroom, arguing that this was a genuine case of demonic possession. They contended that Anelise had made a conscious choice to sacrifice herself to atone for the sins of others. Ultimately, the parents and priests were found guilty of manslaughter, resulting from negligence, and were sentenced to 6 months in jail, which was later suspended. The case of Anelise Michelle remains one of the most debated and disturbing cases of its kind. Was she a victim of a treatable mental illness, failed by both the medical system and the church? Or was she truly a martyr who battled supernatural forces? The story leaves us with more questions than answers, blurring the lines between faith, medicine, and the unexplained. What do you think really happened to Anelise Michelle? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story compelling, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into true stories. Have you ever heard a story so strange, so unbelievable, that it completely challenges what you think is possible? Today, we're rediving into one of the most well-documented cases of spiritual possession in American history: the bizarre tale of the Watseka Wonder. Our story begins in 1877, in the small town of Watseka, Illinois. A young girl named Laurency Venom, just 13 years old, started experiencing terrifying episodes. She would fall into trance-like states, sometimes for hours, even days. During these trances, she spoke in different voices, claiming to be spirits from another world. Her parents were beside themselves with worry. Doctors were baffled, diagnosing her with everything from hysteria to insanity. They recommended sending her to an asylum, a fate her family desperately wanted to avoid. Just as all hope seemed lost, a man named Asa B. Roth heard about Laurency's strange condition. Mr. Roth lived in Watseka and had his own tragic story. 13 years earlier, his own daughter, Mary Roth, had suffered from similar fits and had tragically passed away in an asylum. He believed Mary was trying to communicate from beyond the grave and saw a connection in Laurency's case. Mr. Roth approached the Venom family with a wild proposal. What if the spirit trying to possess Laurency was own evil, but was actually his deceased daughter, Mary? He suggested. They invite the spirit of Mary Roth to inhabit Laurency's body. It sounds crazy, I know, but the Venoms were desperate. So, in a makeshift spiritualist session, they did just that. They called out to Mary Roth, asking her to peacefully enter Laurency, and to everyone's astonishment, it worked. The violent fits stopped. the girl who woke up was no longer Lawrence Venom. Cha claimed to be Mary Roth. This Mary recognized the Roth family instantly, calling them by name and recounting memories only the real Mary could have known. She knew the layout of the Roth house, pointed out old toys she used to play with, and even greeted old friends of the Roth family as if no time had passed. She had no memory of the Venom family, her own parents, and referred to her own body as the body of that girl, Lawrencey. The change was so complete that the Venoms agreed to let their daughter go live with the Roth family as Mary. For several months, Lawrencey lived as Mary Roth. She was happy, calm, and completely integrated into the Roth household. The case attracted widespread attention. A local physician and spiritualism researcher, Dr. E. Winchester Stevens, documented everything. He conducted interviews, observed her behavior, and wrote a book about it called The Watseka Wonder. He was convinced this was a genuine case of spiritual transference. But the story doesn't end there. After about 4 months, Mary announced that Lawrencey's spirit was getting stronger and needed to return to her own body. In a planned session, the spirit of Mary Roth said her goodbyes to her family once again, and Lawrencey Venom returned. She woke up with no memory of the past few months, asking her parents why she was in a strange house. Lawrencey went on to live a completely normal life. She married, had children, and the strange episodes never returned. But she always maintained a special connection with the Roth family, and claimed that the spirit of Mary Roth would occasionally visit her in her dreams, acting as a sort of guardian angel. So, what really happened in Watseka? Was it a genuine case of spiritual possession, where a benevolent spirit temporarily took over a body to save a young girl from madness? Was it an elaborate hoax orchestrated by two families? Or was it a complex psychological phenomenon, perhaps a case of dissociative identity disorder, shaped by the grief and beliefs of those around her? The Watseka Wonder remains one of history's most compelling paranormal mysteries. Unlike many ghost stories, this one has multiple witnesses, detailed documentation, and a strangely positive outcome. It forces us to ask what we truly know about consciousness and the human mind. What do you think happened to Lawrencey Venom? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the unexplained, be sure to like and subscribe for more strange stories. See you next time. The old Blackwell Manor stood on a wind-swept hill, a dark silhouette against the bruised purple sky. Locals whispered tallies of its curse, of the family that vanished overnight, and of something ancient and malevolent lurking in its depths. They said a demon resided in the basement, a creature of shadow and spite, bound to the property by a forgotten ritual. My name is Arthur, and I'm a paranormal investigator. Or at least, I was. Blackwell Manor was supposed to be my final case before retiring, a last dance with the shadows. I arrived on a Tuesday, the air thick with the smell of rain and decay. The front door creaked open under my touch, revealing a foyer choked with dust and draped in cobwebs. Every floorboard groaned under my feet, a chorus of ghostly warnings. I spent the first day mapping the house, setting up my equipment, EMF meters, thermal cameras, audio recorders. The readings were off the charts. Cold spots drifted through rooms like unseen The recorders picked up faint whispers, distorted words in a language I couldn't place. The activity was strongest near a heavy, iron-banded door in the kitchen. The entrance to the basement. That night, sleep offered no escape. I dreamt of a shadowy figure, tall and gaunt, with eyes like burning embers. Spoke my name, its voice a chilling rasp that seemed to echo from the very foundations of the house. I woke up in a cold sweat, the dream's whispers still lingering in the air. The door to the basement was rattling. Hesitantly, I approached it. A wave of unnatural cold washed over me, and the air grew heavy, pressing down on my chest. I unlatched the heavy bolt. The door swung inward with a groan, revealing a flight of stone steps descending into absolute blackness. My flashlight beam cut through the dark, illuminating damp stone walls and the glint of something metallic at the bottom. As I descended, the whispers grew louder, clearer. They weren't just random sounds. They were weaving a story. A story of the Blackwell family. Not as victims, but as jailers. They had summoned the entity, bound it for power and wealth, and for generations they had fed it. Not with sacrifices, but with their own life force. A slow, draining pact that eventually consumed them. At the bottom of the stairs, my light fell upon a circle of intricate silver inlay on the floor. In the center was a simple, tarnished locket. The whispers urged me forward, promising knowledge, power, anything I desired. All I had to do was step into the circle and claim the locket. It was the key, the focus of the binding ritual. Breaking it would free the entity. My heart pounded against my ribs. This was the moment of truth. Was it a demon, a malevolent force of pure evil, or was it a prisoner lashing out in desperation? The whispers became frantic, a symphony of pleading and promising. I saw flashes in my mind, the Blackwells performing their dark rites, their faces grim, their souls withering with each passing year. I reached down and picked up the locket. It was cold, unnaturally so. The whispers stopped, replaced by an expectant silence. I could feel its consciousness, an ancient, weary presence, watching me. It wasn't just a monster. It was a being trapped in a cycle of suffering, created by human greed. With a deep breath, I walked out of the circle, the locket still clutched in my hand. I ascended the stairs, left the kitchen, and walked out the front door of Blackwell Manor without looking back. I didn't smash the locket. I didn't release it. The Blackwells had created their own prison, and in doing so, had created a prisoner. Who was I to pass judgment? Some might call me a coward, but as I drove away, I felt a strange sense of peace. The demon in the basement of Blackwell Manor remains. A silent monument to the darkness that can live not just in old houses, but in the human heart. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more tales from the shadows.